You're standing where democracy was born. Ancient Greece, a collection of city-states scattered across the Mediterranean, home to just a few million people who shaped the entire Western world. A place where massive stone temples touched the sky, where theater was invented and philosophy became a way of life. Greece doesn't feel like ancient history. It feels alive. Carved into every hillside and island. So let's step back 2,500 years and walk through a civilization that gave us art, science, and the idea that citizens could govern themselves. Stretching across the southern tip of the Balkan Peninsula and scattered islands in the Aegean and Ionian Seas, ancient Greece wasn't one unified nation. It was a network of independent city-states called polias, each with its own government, army, and identity. Mountains divided the land into natural pockets where communities developed their own traditions. The climate was Mediterranean, hot, dry summers and mild, wet winters, perfect for growing olives and grapes. Trade connected these separate worlds, spreading ideas across blue water highways. From Athens to Sparta, Delphi to Olympia, Greek civilization thrived between roughly 800 BCE and 146 BCE, leaving behind temples, theaters, and stories that still echo today. You're walking through the Agora, the heart of ancient Athens. This open space serves as both marketplace and meeting ground. Stone paths stretch between rows of columns. People gather in small groups, talking about laws and voting. Citizens debate which direction their city should take. Voices rise and fall as arguments are made. This is where democracy happens, not in a grand building, but out in the open air where everyone can participate. Around you, public buildings frame the square. Their stone walls and columned entrances show the importance of shared spaces. Merchants set up stalls along the edges, selling pottery, fabric, and food. But the Agora is more than a place to buy things. It's where citizens come to shape their government. Men gather to discuss proposals. They vote by raising their hands or placing stones in jars. The system is simple and direct. Near the Agora, philosophers teach in shaded courtyards. Students sit on stone benches, listening to lessons about justice and the good life. These teachers don't work in private schools. They share their ideas openly, inviting anyone to listen and question. Knowledge moves through Athens like the breeze, carried by conversation rather than locked away. The city mixes different parts of life together. Politics happens next to shopping. Philosophy sits beside craft workshops. People from various backgrounds move through the same spaces. Slaves walk past citizens. Merchants stand near priests. The layout doesn't separate these groups. Instead, it brings them into contact, creating a city that feels alive with activity. Above the city, a flat-topped rock rises sharply from the surrounding land. This is the Acropolis, Athens' sacred high ground. The climb is steep, following a path that winds up the western slope. As you ascend, the city spreads out below. Houses, temples, and workshops grow smaller. The harbor becomes visible in the distance, a thin line where land meets sea. At the top, the Parthenon commands the space. This temple to Athena stands massive and precise. Rows of white marble columns support the roof, each one carved and positioned with exact measurements. The building doesn't lean or sag. Every line is straight. Every angle is calculated. Greeks built this temple to honor their patron goddess, but also to show what human skill can achieve. Inside the Parthenon, priests conduct ceremonies. Citizens bring offerings of oil, grain, and small clay figurines. The temple also serves as a treasury. Athens stores its wealth here, protected by sacred ground and thick walls. Guards watch the entrance. The goddess's statue stands in the main chamber, gold and ivory rising to the ceiling. From the Acropolis, you can see across all of Athens. The agora sits below like an organized grid. Roads lead out in different directions, connecting the city to surrounding farms and villages. Beyond the buildings, the sea stretches blue and calm. This height gives Athens protection. Enemies approaching can be spotted early. The position shows why Greeks chose this rock as their center. The walk from Athens to its harbor follows the long walls, two parallel barriers that create a protected corridor. These walls connect the city to the sea, making sure supplies can reach Athens even during attacks. The path is wide enough for carts and soldiers. Stone rises on both sides, blocking views but providing safety. Piraeus spreads along the coast, built entirely around its function as a port. Ships from across the Mediterranean dock here. Wooden vessels line stone quays, their sails furled and their hulls rocking gently with the tide. Workers unload clay jars filled with grain from Egypt. Others carry bundles of fabric from the east. The smell of salt water mixes with fish being sold in nearby markets. Warehouses stand in rows behind the docks. Their thick walls protect goods waiting to be transported inland. Merchants gather to negotiate prices and arrange shipments. Money changes hands. Contracts are agreed upon with handshakes. Trade keeps Athens fed and wealthy. Without this harbor, the city couldn't support its population or maintain its power. Along one section of the waterfront, naval facilities dominate the view. Rows of triremes rest in covered sheds. These warships made Athens the strongest naval force in Greece. Each trireme holds about 170 rowers, arranged in 3 levels. The ships are narrow and fast, built for ramming enemy vessels. In their bronze rams can punch through wooden hulls. Sailors move between the ships, checking ropes and inspecting oars. The Navy requires constant maintenance. Wood needs sealing, sails need mending. Athens depends on these ships not just for war, but for protecting trade routes and showing strength to rival cities. The harbor makes Athens powerful in ways that land armies cannot match. Workers speak different languages at Piraeus. Greeks mix with Egyptians, Phoenicians, and others. The port connects Athens to the wider world, bringing in new ideas along with physical goods. This exchange shapes the city, making it more diverse and dynamic than inland communities. You're entering a city that looks nothing like Athens. Sparta sits in a valley surrounded by mountains. The buildings are plain and functional. Now, there are no ornate temples with painted columns, no elaborate public monuments. Stone structures serve clear purposes: barracks for soldiers, training grounds, simple houses. Everything here reflects one priority: military strength. Young boys run through training fields. They start this life at age 7, leaving their families to join the Agog. This system teaches them to fight, endure pain, and follow orders without question. They sleep in basic quarters with thin blankets. They eat simple meals together. No one gets special treatment. The point is to create soldiers who think as one unit. The training is constant. Boys wrestle in sandy pits. They practice with wooden swords and shields. Older men watch and correct their form. Discipline matters more than individual skill. A Spartan soldier needs to hold his position in formation. He needs to trust the man beside him completely. The Agage builds this trust through shared hardship. Around the training grounds, the city continues its daily work. But even civilian life centers on supporting the military. Women in Sparta have more freedom than in other Greek cities. They manage property while men are away. They participate in athletic competitions to stay strong. Spartans believe healthy mothers produce healthy warriors. This practical thinking shapes everything. Beyond the city center, farmland spreads across the valley floor. Helots work these fields. These are people enslaved by Sparta, forced to grow food that feeds the military population. Their villages dot the countryside. They vastly outnumber Spartan citizens, which is why Spartans maintain such strict military readiness. The system depends on control through force. The road to Delphi climbs through rocky terrain. Mount Parnassus rises ahead, its slopes covered in olive trees and limestone outcrops. The sanctuary sits high on the mountainside, positioned where two massive rock faces create a natural amphitheater. This location feels separate from the normal world. The air is thinner. Sounds echo differently. Greeks chose this spot because it feels like a place where gods might speak. The Temple of Apollo stands at the center. Pilgrims travel here from every corner of Greece and beyond. They come to ask the oracle questions about war, marriage, founding colonies, or making important decisions. The priestess sits inside the temple on a three-legged stool above a crack in the earth. Sacred fumes rise from below. She breathes them in and enters a trance. Her words come out unclear and strange. Priests interpret what she says, turning her utterances into prophecies. People wait their turn in long lines. Some bring valuable offerings: gold statues, bronze tripods, fine pottery. These gifts get stored in treasury buildings that line the sacred way, the main path up to the temple. Each city-state built its own treasury to display wealth and devotion. The buildings compete for attention, showing which cities have power and resources. Higher up the slope, an outdoor theater is carved into the mountain. Stone seats rise in curved rows. During festivals, people gather here to watch performances honoring Apollo. Actors wear masks and speak in loud, clear voices that carry across the space. Music and poetry fill the valley. These events bring Greeks together, creating shared cultural experiences that connect separate city-states. Natural springs flow near the sanctuary. Greeks consider this water sacred. They use it in purification rituals before consulting the oracle. Olive groves surround the site, their silver-green leaves rustling in the wind. The trees provide shade and mark boundaries between sacred and ordinary ground. Delphi draws people because Greeks believe the gods communicate here. The oracle's prophecies shape major decisions. Kings delay wars based on her words. Colonists choose locations because she directed them. Whether the prophecies come from divine sources or clever priests doesn't change their impact. Delphi gives Greeks a way to seek guidance when facing uncertainty. A green valley opens between two rivers. This is Olympia, home to the original Olympic Games. Every 4 years, athletes from all Greek city-states gather here. Even cities at war declare truces so competitors can travel safely. The games matter that much. The stadium sits in a natural depression. Earth embankments rise on both sides, where spectators stand or sit on the ground. There are no stone seats or permanent structures, just packed dirt and grass. The track stretches straight for about 200 meters. Athletes run naked, their bodies coated in olive oil. Foot races are the oldest competitions. The winner's name gets remembered for generations. Near the stadium, the palestra provides training space. Columns surround a large courtyard filled with sand. Wrestlers grapple here, their bodies locked in holds as they try to force each other down. Boxing matches happen in the same space. Fighters wear leather straps wrapped around their fists. The matches continue until one man can't fight anymore. Blood stains the sand regularly. The games include other events: discus throwing, javelin, long jump. Chariot racing happens in a separate area called the hippodrome. Teams of horses pull chariots around a dangerous track. Crashes are common. Horses stumble, wheels break, drivers get thrown. Winning here brings the greatest glory because of the expense and risk involved. At the center of Olympia stands the Temple of Zeus. Inside, a massive statue dominates the space. Gold and ivory cover a wooden frame, creating an image of the King of Gods seated on a throne. The statue rises so tall it nearly touches the ceiling. This is one of the 7 wonders. Pilgrims travel just to see it. The craftsmanship and materials show what humans can create when they dedicate themselves to honoring the divine. Victory at Olympia means everything to Greek athletes. Winners receive simple olive wreaths cut from a sacred tree. But the real prize is fame. Poets write about them. Their home cities throw celebrations. Statues get erected in their honor. Some cities even knock holes in their walls for Olympic champions to enter, showing that a city with such men doesn't need complete fortifications. The games create unity among Greeks. For a few days, city-state rivalries fade. People who speak the same language and worship the same gods gather to celebrate physical achievement. The competitions prove individual excellence while reinforcing shared identity. Olympia reminds Greeks that despite their political divisions, they belong to one culture. Greece's highest mountain rises nearly 3,000 meters into the sky. Mount Olympus isn't a single peak. It's a massive formation with multiple summits, creating a throne-like shape. The highest point often disappears into clouds. From below, the mountain looks unreachable. Steep slopes climb through different zones of vegetation. Dense forests of oak and beech cover the lower elevations. Higher up, the trees thin out and alpine meadows take over. At the very top, bare rock and snow dominate. Greeks don't climb this mountain. They believe the gods live at the summit. Zeus rules from a palace hidden in the clouds. The other Olympian gods have their homes there too. Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Poseidon. All 12 major deities make their residence on these peaks. The mountain serves as a boundary between the mortal world and the divine realm. When clouds roll across the peaks, the mountain seems to shift and move. One moment, the summit is visible. The next, it vanishes completely. This changing appearance makes it easy to imagine gods moving around up there, hidden from human eyes. Thunder echoes through the valleys below. Greeks hear Zeus's voice in those sounds. Lightning strikes the higher slopes. That's Zeus throwing his bolts. The forests at the base shelter wildlife. Deer move through the trees. Birds nest in the branches. Streams flow down from the heights, carrying cold mountain water. These lower areas are accessible. People hunt here and gather wood, but they respect the boundary. Going too high means entering the gods' territory uninvited. Hundreds of rocky islands scatter across the blue water between Greece and Asia Minor. From any island, you can see the next one. The Aegean Sea isn't an empty barrier. It's filled with stepping stones. Each island rises from the water with white limestone cliffs. Natural harbors cut into the coastlines, protected from storms by curving headlands. The islands share similar features. Rocky soil covers most of the land. Greeks build stone walls to create flat terraces on hillsides. These terraces hold thin layers of earth where olive trees and grapevines can grow. The plants need little water and thrive in the Mediterranean climate. Their roots grip the rocky ground. Farmers work small plots, coaxing crops from land that looks too harsh to support agriculture. Fishing villages cluster around the harbors. Wooden boats rest on beaches or bob in the shallow water. Fishermen set out before dawn, casting nets and checking traps. Fish form a major part of the island diet. The sea provides more reliably than the difficult land. Each island develops its own character. Some are large enough to support several towns, others hold just one small settlement. But trade connects them all. Boats move constantly between islands, carrying pottery, wine, olive oil, and news. Sailors navigate by landmarks. They know which mountains belong to which islands. They read the wind and waves. The sea doesn't separate Greeks. It connects them. Island communities stay linked to the mainland too. During conflicts, islands provide naval bases. During peace, they serve as trading posts. Their scattered positions create a network across the Aegean. Information travels quickly through this system. A development on one island reaches others within days. The water between islands shifts color with depth. Pale turquoise marks shallow areas over sand. Deep blue shows where the seafloor drops away. Sailors learn to read these colors, using them to navigate safely. Rocky reefs hide just below the surface in some places. Experienced captains know where dangers lurk. The coastal road narrows dramatically where mountains meet the sea. This is Thermopylae, meaning hot gates. The name comes from hot springs that steam near the path. The pass is only wide enough for a single cart. On one side, steep cliffs rise sharply. On the other, marshes and water block passage. Anyone traveling between northern and southern Greece must pass through this tight space. The landscape creates a natural fortress. A small force positioned here can block a much larger army. The narrow passage eliminates numerical advantage. Attackers can only come forward a few at a time. Defenders standing shoulder to shoulder can hold the line for extended periods. Rocky ground provides solid footing. The cliffs offer no way around for an invading force. Trying to climb them while under attack would be nearly impossible. The marshes on the seaside are too soft and deep to cross with armor and weapons. The geography forces confrontation in this exact spot. Hot springs bubble up through cracks in the rock. The water carries minerals from deep underground. Steam rises constantly, creating a misty atmosphere. Greeks consider these springs sacred, another sign that this place holds special significance. The pass has witnessed significant events. Armies have clashed here when northern invaders tried to push south. The position's value is obvious to anyone who sees it. Control this passage, and you control movement through Greece. Lose it, and your territory becomes vulnerable. Standing in the pass, you feel enclosed. Mountains press in from one side. Water blocks the other. The sky seems narrower overhead. This compression makes the space feel powerful. Nature itself chose this spot as a gateway, and humans must respect that choice. The path through Thermopylae shows how landscape shapes history. Greeks build their strategies around terrain. They use mountains, valleys, and coastlines as tools. A few hundred men in the right location can achieve what thousands couldn't on open ground. The pass proves that geography matters as much as courage in warfare. The hot springs continue flowing year-round. The steam never stops. The narrow passage remains unchanged. These permanent features give Thermopylae its character. The place exists independent of human events. Armies come and go. The land stays the same. That stability makes certain locations legendary. They become stages where human drama plays out against an unchanging backdrop. A hillside curves naturally into a semicircle. Greeks carved seats into this slope, creating a theater that holds 14,000 people. The rows rise steeply, each level slightly higher than the one below. From the top row, spectators look down at a circular stage far below. Despite the distance, they can hear everything. The theater's design creates perfect acoustics. An actor standing at the center can speak in a normal voice and be heard clearly in the highest seats. Drop a coin on the stage, and the sound carries all the way up. Greeks understood how to shape stone and space to move sound exactly where they wanted it. The semicircular form focuses noise toward the audience. The limestone seats absorb some frequencies while reflecting others, creating clarity. Actors perform wearing masks with exaggerated expressions. The masks help project their voices and show emotions that distant viewers can read. Performances happen during daylight. There are no artificial lights. Plays tell stories of gods, heroes, and human struggles. The audience watches for hours, sitting on stone seats under the open sky. Near the theater, a sanctuary dedicated to Asclepius spreads across the valley. And this healing center draws sick people from across Greece. They come seeking cures for illnesses that regular medicine can't fix. The process involves purification rituals, offerings to the god, and sleeping in special buildings where Asclepius might visit them in dreams. Priests interpret the dreams and prescribe treatments. Some patients are told to exercise. Others receive herbal remedies or are directed to bathe in sacred springs. The sanctuary combines religious practice with practical medicine. Doctors observe symptoms and track which treatments work. Knowledge accumulates through experience. Exercise grounds surround the healing buildings. Patients walk prescribed distances. They lift weights or practice specific movements. Greeks believe physical health and mental health connect directly. A sound body supports a sound mind. The treatments here address both aspects. The sanctuary shows how Greeks combine different approaches to problems. They don't separate art from healing or religion from medicine. The theater and the healing center exist in the same complex because both deal with human experience. One explores it through story. The other works to restore it through treatment. Massive walls rise from a hilltop. The stones used to build these fortifications are so large that later Greeks believed giants must have placed them. Boulders weighing several tons fit together without mortar. The technique is called Cyclopean masonry. The walls stand thick and tall, creating a fortress that dominated this region over 1,000 years before classical Athens existed. The entrance to Mycenae passes through the Lion Gate. Two carved lions face each other above the doorway, their front paws resting on an altar. This is the oldest monumental sculpture in Europe. The lions guard the citadel, showing power and authority to anyone approaching. The gateway narrows deliberately, forcing visitors to enter single file where defenders could control access. Inside the walls, stone structures cluster together. Royal quarters occupy the highest ground. Storage rooms hold large clay jars for grain, oil, and wine. This citadel was built to withstand sieges with supplies to last months. Water systems channel rainfall into cisterns cut deep into the rock. Beyond the main citadel, burial sites dot the surrounding hillsides. Some are shaft graves, deep pits where multiple bodies were laid with gold masks, bronze weapons, and jewelry. Others are Tholos tombs, a massive beehive-shaped chambers built into the earth. The treasury of Atreus is the largest, with a doorway tall enough to drive a chariot through and a dome that rises 13 meters overhead. These tombs required enormous effort to construct, moving earth and placing stones with precision. The objects found in Mycenaean graves show a warrior culture. Bronze swords and daggers feature detailed inlays of gold and silver depicting hunting scenes. Gold death masks covered royal faces. Amber beads from the Baltic region prove long-distance trade networks existed even in this early period. This civilization flourished during the Bronze Age, centuries before the Greece of Socrates and Pericles. The Mycenaeans built fortified palaces, developed writing systems, and controlled trade routes across the Mediterranean. But their world collapsed around 1200 BCE for reasons still debated, but their legacy survived in stories. Homer's epics about the Trojan War describe a Mycenaean world, preserving memories of this earlier Greek civilization. On the island of Crete, a sprawling complex covers several acres. Knossos isn't a single building. It's hundreds of rooms connected by corridors, staircases, and courtyards. The layout winds and turns, creating a maze-like structure. Walking through it, you constantly encounter new passages leading in unexpected directions. This complexity might have inspired the Greek legend of the labyrinth. The palace walls feature colorful frescoes painted directly on plaster. Dolphins leap through blue waves. Bulls charge forward with powerful muscles. People dressed in elaborate clothing participate in ceremonies. Women wear fitted bodices and layered skirts. Men appear in kilts with bare chests. The figures look elegant and refined, showing attention to fashion and appearance. Some rooms clearly served administrative purposes. Clay tablets with Linear B script record inventories and transactions. Others were workshops, where craftsmen produced pottery, jewelry, and textiles. Storage magazines lined certain corridors, filled with huge clay jars that once held olive oil, wine, and grain. The palace functioned as an economic center managing resources for the surrounding region. A throne room contains a stone seat built into the wall. The throne is simple, but positioned prominently. Whether a king or high priestess sat here remains unclear. Minoan culture predates classical Greece by centuries, and much about their social structure stays mysterious. Advanced engineering appears throughout Knossos. Clay pipes carry water through the complex. Drainage systems remove waste. Light wells bring natural illumination to interior rooms. The builders understood hydraulics and ventilation, creating comfortable living spaces in a large structure. The bull appears repeatedly in Minoan art. Frescoes show young people leaping over charging bulls, grabbing the horns, and vaulting over the animal's back. Whether this was sport, ritual, or both isn't certain. The bull clearly held special significance in Minoan religion and culture. Greek legends remember Crete as the home of King Minos and the Minotaur, a creature half man and half bull, trapped in an underground labyrinth. The stories might contain distorted memories of this real palace and its bull-centered ceremonies. Over centuries, in history transformed into myth, but the ruins show the reality behind the tales. Knossos demonstrates that Greek civilization had deep roots. Before Athens and Sparta, sophisticated cultures thrived in the Aegean. The Minoans developed art, architecture, and trade networks that influenced later Greeks. Their palace at Knossos stands as evidence of an earlier Mediterranean world, one that laid foundations for what came after. A small island rises from the center of the Aegean Sea. Delos is barely 5 kilometers long and less than 2 kilometers wide. Rocky and exposed, it holds no permanent population. Yet this barren place became one of the most sacred sites in all of Greece. Greeks believed Apollo, god of light and prophecy, was born here, and that belief transformed Delos into a religious center that drew pilgrims from every corner of the Greek world. The island served as the headquarters for the Delian League, an alliance of Greek city-states. Member cities sent representatives here for meetings and stored shared treasures in sanctuaries. Delos occupied neutral ground, belonging to no single city-state. This independence made it acceptable to everyone as a gathering place. Temples cover the landscape. Sanctuaries dedicated to Apollo dominate the sacred areas. Other gods received shrines too. Artemis, Apollo's twin sister, has her own temple complex. Smaller altars and offerings appear throughout the ruins. Each structure marks devotion from different cities or wealthy individuals seeking divine favor. Ancient law prohibited births and deaths on Delos, and women about to give birth had to leave the island. People too sick to recover were removed to nearby islands. Bodies couldn't be buried here. This rule kept Delos ritually pure, untainted by the physical realities of human existence. The island belonged entirely to the gods. Walking through the ruins, you pass elaborate houses with mosaic floors. These belonged to merchants and traders who conducted business here. Delos became a major commercial hub, handling goods from across the Mediterranean. Warehouses stored grain, pottery, and textiles. Markets operated near the harbor, where ships docked constantly. The Terrace of the Lions stands near a sacred lake that has since dried up. 9 marble lion statues originally guarded this area. Several remain, though weathered by centuries of salt wind. The lions face east, positioned to protect the sanctuary. Their bodies are stylized but powerful, carved from single blocks of marble. Time has worn away details, smoothing features and eroding edges, yet they still command attention, silent guardians watching over empty ground. Stone theaters built into hillsides provided space for performances during religious festivals. Houses line narrow streets that wind between ruins. Everything stays exposed to sun and wind. There are no trees for shade. Little vegetation grows in the rocky soil. The island feels stark and open. Reaching Delos requires a boat journey from nearby islands. The water around it runs deep blue, clear enough to see rocks beneath the surface. The crossing takes less than an hour, but the separation matters. Delos exists apart from ordinary life. Landing here means entering sacred space governed by different rules. Today, only ruins remain. Columns stand without roofs. Walls outline where buildings once enclosed rooms. Mosaic floors lie exposed to weather, but the layout reveals how completely religion and commerce intertwined. Merchants conducted business steps away from temples. Priests and traders shared the same streets. Wealth flowed toward the gods through offerings, while the gods' presence legitimized trade and protected agreements. Delos shows Greek religion at its purest. No political power controlled it. No army defended it. The island survived through shared belief that it was sacred. Greeks who fought bitter wars against each other still respected Delos as neutral ground. Their faith created protection more effective than any fortress walls. The road south from Athens follows the coastline until land runs out. Cape Sunion juts into the Aegean Sea at the southern tip of Attica. Cliffs drop 60 meters straight down to water that crashes against rocks below. Wind blows constantly, carrying salt spray upward. The location feels exposed and powerful, a point where Earth meets endless ocean. At the cliff's edge, the Temple of Poseidon rises against the sky. White marble columns stand in rows, supporting what remains of the roof structure. 16 columns still stand from the original design. They're built in the Doric style, sturdy and plain without elaborate decoration. The temple faces east, positioned to catch the first light of dawn. Greeks built this temple to honor Poseidon, god of the sea. Sailors passing this point could see the columns from their ships. The temple marked safe passage and reminded travelers they were under divine watch. Before long, voyages people came here to make offerings, asking Poseidon for calm seas and favorable winds. The height provides clear views in all directions. Looking north, you can trace the coastline back toward Athens. East and south, the Aegean stretches to the horizon, dotted with distant islands. Ships appear as small shapes against blue water. On clear days, you can identify which direction they're heading and guess their destinations. Sunset transforms the temple. As the sun drops toward the western horizon behind you, its light hits the marble columns at an angle. The white stone turns gold, then orange, then deep amber. The color intensifies as the sun sinks lower. For a few minutes, the temple glows against darkening sky and sea. And then the light fades, leaving columns silhouetted against twilight. Greeks chose this location deliberately. The temple doesn't sit in a valley or sheltered plain. It stands at the absolute edge of land, facing the sea that both connected and threatened them. Poseidon controlled waters that brought trade and also sent storms. He needed respect and appeasement. Placing his temple here acknowledged his power over the element Greeks depended on completely. Ancient sailors must have felt relief seeing these columns. The temple told them they were close to home. Athens lay just hours away by ship. For travelers returning from long journeys to distant lands, Cape Sunion marked the boundary of familiar territory. Beyond this point, they were back in Athenian waters. The cliff drops sharply with no gradual slope. Waves strike the rocks directly, sending up spray that mists the air. The sound of water against stone is constant, a background rhythm that never stops. Seabirds nest in crevices along the cliff face. They wheel and cry overhead, riding wind currents. Standing among the columns, you feel the isolation and exposure. There's nowhere to hide from wind or weather. The temple endures everything the sea throws at it. Salt corrodes the marble slowly. Wind wears away surface details year by year. But the structure holds. The columns remain upright. The foundation grips the rock. Cape Sunion represents a boundary. Behind you lies civilization, human achievement, organized society. Before you spreads the sea, vast and unpredictable. The temple exists exactly at that border, where human effort meets nature's immensity. Greeks built here not despite the harshness, but because of it. The location demanded acknowledgement of forces beyond human control. This is where Greece ends and the unknown begins. Ancient Greeks didn't know what lay far beyond the horizon. The Mediterranean connected them to other lands, but the ocean remained mysterious and dangerous. Cape Sunion marked the edge of their world, the last point of safety before venturing into uncertainty. The temple at Cape Sunion captures something essential about Greek civilization. They pushed boundaries while respecting limits. They celebrated human achievement while acknowledging divine power. They built lasting monuments in places where nature's strength was most obvious. Standing here, looking out at endless water with white columns beside you, that balance becomes clear. Greeks didn't try to conquer nature. They learned to exist alongside it with courage and humility. Ancient Greece wasn't built on perfection. It was built on argument, competition, and the belief that humans could shape their own destiny. From the democratic debates in Athens, where citizens voted directly on laws, to the disciplined training grounds of Sparta, where boys learned to fight as one, Greeks experimented with different ways to organize society. They didn't agree on the best system. Athens valued freedom and debate. Sparta demanded order and sacrifice. Other city-states found their own paths, but all of them believed humans were capable of greatness. The temples rising on hilltops weren't just religious buildings. They were statements carved in stone. Greeks showed what careful planning and hard work could achieve. The Parthenon's columns line up with mathematical precision. The theater at Epidaurus carries a whisper to the highest seat. These weren't accidents. They resulted from observation, measurement, and skill passed from teacher to student across generations. Greeks proved that understanding how the world works gives humans power to create lasting beauty. Competition drove Greek culture forward. Athletes pushed their bodies to win olive wreaths at Olympia. Playwrights competed for prizes at festivals. Philosophers challenged each other's ideas in public spaces. This constant testing separated good from better and better from best. Nothing was accepted just because tradition said so. Every idea faced questioning. Every method faced improvement. That restless energy produced advances in art, science, government, and thought. When the landscape shaped how Greeks lived, mountains divided them into separate communities. The sea connected them through trade. Islands provided stepping stones across the Aegean. Greeks couldn't ignore geography. They built cities where natural harbors offered protection. They positioned temples where cliffs met sky. They fought battles in narrow passes where terrain mattered more than numbers. The land wasn't just a backdrop. It was a partner in everything Greeks accomplished. Standing among these ruins, you see the scale of what's been lost. The Parthenon once had a roof. Its columns supported carved figures painted in bright colors. The theater at Epidaurus hosted plays now lost except for fragments. Libraries at Alexandria and elsewhere held texts that burned or crumbled. Most of what Greeks created has disappeared. What remains are bones without flesh, structures without the life that filled them. Yet those bones tell a story. They show a civilization that asked fundamental questions. What makes a government just? How should people treat each other? What is beauty? What is truth? Greeks didn't claim to have final answers. They argued constantly, changed their minds, tried new approaches. The questions mattered more than settling on single answers. That spirit of inquiry became their greatest legacy. Greek influence spread far beyond these hills and islands. Alexander carried Greek culture to Egypt, Persia, and India. Roman conquerors adopted Greek gods, copied Greek architecture, and studied Greek philosophy. Renaissance Europeans rediscovered Greek texts and used them to challenge medieval certainties. Modern democracies trace their roots to Athenian experiments in citizen governance. The Olympics, revived in modern form, still celebrate athletic excellence every 4 years, walking through the agora where citizens debated, climbing to the Acropolis where the Parthenon stood watch, standing at Cape Sonion where sea met sky. You connect with people who lived over 2,000 years ago. They experienced fear and hope, celebrated victories, and mourned defeats. They loved their families, argued with neighbors, and wondered about their place in the universe. The details of daily life have vanished, but the fundamental human experiences remain recognizable. Greece's glory didn't come from having all the answers. It came from having the courage to ask difficult questions and the humility to accept that answers might change. It came from valuing both individual excellence and community responsibility. It came from respecting the gods while celebrating human potential. That balance between confidence and caution, between pride and respect, created a culture that still resonates. These stones will continue standing long after we're gone, just as they stood before we arrived. Wind will keep wearing them down. Rain will slowly dissolve marble. But the ideas Greeks explored here won't erode. Questions about justice, beauty, courage, and wisdom don't have expiration dates. Each generation must answer them again in their own context. Greeks showed that the search itself has value, that wrestling with hard questions makes us more fully human. Thank you for walking through this ancient world. Greece offers more than history lessons. It provides examples of what humans can achieve when they combine practical skill with bold imagination. Keep that sense of possibility alive. Let Greek courage to question and create inspire your own journey. The next exploration awaits, ready to reveal how other civilizations answered the eternal questions that Greeks asked so clearly among these hills, islands, and temples.